The incentive, who determines? Like I said, if you choose your leaders, then your leaders have the mandate to be your representatives, and their representation, therefore, is deemed to be what you acquiesce to as a people. So your leaders can decide what sort of incentives. So for example, an easy thing that I can think of the bat would be tax incentives. Each of us has to pay tax. Once you become an adult, you get an ID, you get a KRA PIN. You start being liable to pay taxes from the moment you have your KRA PIN. From that moment on, therefore, your liability to the government is recorded somewhere. If we have got a tax incentive such that at the moment we realize you have voted, immediately your tax bill goes down by 3,000 bob. Quite frankly, that's one of those things that if most Kenyans will be like, you know what, that's not money to sniff at. That incentive helps to make voting mandatory without punishing people, because the notion of punishment, like I said, even in our families, is changing. These days we negotiate our way through life. We negotiate even with toddlers, as terrorists they are. So we have to come to a place where we think creatively. Secondly, how long does it last? As long as it's fit for purpose, it lasts. That's the essence of democracy. As long as we find it makes sense, we go ahead and allow it to happen. Because in most instances, you'll find that something, unless you try it out for size, you do not know whether this incentive works or this other works. So in societies, for example, where technology has gotten to a place where everybody is on a certain system, it's very easy to find out who did it, who did not do it. If it's a question of you are getting a ticket, it's not something that you have to go out and get punished for. It's all automated such that it's quote-unquote painless. Then the other thing that I want to also point out, in this particular instance, when you're looking at the electorate has been forced to pay taxes. The electorate has been forced now to participate in elections. In my opinion, it's two sides of the same coins. Because if I'm going to be forced to pay taxes, honestly, I should have an interest in who's spending my taxes. If I don't have an interest in who's spending my taxes, then the voice to complain that my taxes are being misused is something that I'm squandering, is an opportunity that I'm squandering. So if I'm going to be forced to pay taxes, then I need to make my voice heard as to who is my leader very unequivocal. When people choose not to do that, then any organization after the fact is actually an abuse of the process, because the process has been established for you to make your voice heard. If you do not participate, then you do not ask for things that you did not put in. You only harvest what you have planted. So is it necessary for the electorate to be forced to participate? Like I said, this participation is not just for the sake of electing leaders. It costs us something. It costs us money. We are a third world country. We are getting into now the middle income country. We don't have money to waste. We don't have money to wish away. So it should be an opportunity for those people who have availed themselves as adults to say something, so that even the investment that has been put in preparing for you, hiring people, putting people in place. Like, for example, in Nairobi right now, if you don't want to have a long queue in voting, ironically, go and register in Muthaiga Primary or in, Karura Primary, because the places where the bougie people live, they don't bother to register as voters, yet they're the highest taxpayers in the land. It is immoral, therefore, to say that for a person who doesn't even have an elector's card, to say that the government ought to do this, the government ought to do that. You've been asked a question, it's only polite that you give the answer. Then finally, adult suffrage is one of the ways that civilized societies are able to organize. Once you are an adult, you pay rent, you pay fees, you buy food, you participate, engage in other aspects of being an adult. This is one of those things that is just adulting. People have to be given the push to become adults, because the voter apathy we are seeing amongst our youth. Right now we are being told that the young people are the ones who, the registered voters amongst the young people, the number has actually gone down. It's like, 36%. We're coming into a place where the quote-unquote kids don't want to participate, and now they're no longer kids, they're actually adults. In the next 40 years, many of us might be in a place where we are too frail to engage anymore. If these guys don't take an active interest, we'll have people who are either too inexperienced or too apathetic, such that the entire construct that we are calling a democracy, our freedom, will crumble, and it will be in the hands of the 50 people who remain engaged. We have to get everybody on board by force and by fire.